Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from Planet X News, and I am here with Dr. Albers, our Planet X physicist. Dr. Albers, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Scott. And how are you?
From Planet X News, and I am here with Dr. Oh my, I have us playing in the background.
Oh my.
Slight snafu, folks. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I uploaded a video earlier today showing some video footage from the SETI imaging, and there was no audio to it. It was pretty self-explanatory. One of the main reasons why I did not include audio, and some of you may or may not believe this, but with YouTube's algorithms, I mean, they're listening for my voice. They're listening for Dr. Albers' voice, and they immediately flag our videos. Just yesterday, Planet X News finally hit 70,000 subscribers. But you know, folks, it really doesn't make a difference about the subscribers because they're blocking all of the views. So let's get down to business. So that's the reason why I didn't include any audio. That is the reason why I included the text pointing out the image that I was seeing on SETI. I actually put arrows pointing to it. But I received a lot of comments and a bunch of emails and people asking me, Scott, what am I looking at? Well, folks, listen, I don't know if I can highlight this any more than I actually could. If some of you are watching this on a cell phone, you're going to have to get to a computer or a laptop, iPad, something larger, because it's going to be hard to see. Dr. Albers hasn't seen any of this footage either. So I'm going to get right to it. But before we do that, bum, 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 bum. Our book on the, oh no, it's in reverse.
The Sun Simulator.
Yeah. This is the Sun Simulator book. Just came out a few days ago. Absolutely full of images. I don't want to bend all the pages. Explanations. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. There you go, folks. Is it showing up backwards?
Yeah, it looks, yeah, I can see it clearly, Scott.
No, is the writing backwards?
No, it's not. It's absolutely fine.
It's backwards on my screen.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's fine here.
Yeah, so this is it, folks. The Deception in the Sky.
Yes.
The Sun Simulator.
It's a beautiful cover. I really like that pink simulator there.
Got my Planet X News mug. Anyways, folks, I'm sure a lot of you have been watching what is happening in Hawaii on the Big Island. Lava just spewing up from the streets, out in the forest, destroying homes, destroying roads. A lot of earthquakes. 300-400 earthquakes. I think the biggest one was a magnitude 6.9. It's not going to end. It's not going to end for probably a long time. I don't know if any of you were listening to Dutch Sense and his report on Kilauea. He did a very, very good, extensive report, and he was showing some of the thermo imaging of how the inside, the crater just literally dropped. And from what, I'm not a volcanologist, I do know a good bit about volcanoes. And as that crater dropped and all that magma pushed down very, very far, probably thousands of feet, it's now pushing to the southeast end to the other volcano that is closer to the shore. And all of those neighborhoods are going to be affected. And probably eventually, folks, those neighborhoods are going to disappear. I've been posting some pictures as I see them coming in, and the situation is pretty bad. There's a high possibility that a lot of this internal pressure may make its way across the Pacific. It may impact the western coast of South America, Central America, and also parts of Mexico, and maybe even the west coast of the United States. Pretty incredible situation that is occurring. And let's just hope there's no loss of life. You know, folks, we're going to have to continue to keep our eyes and our ears open. And we're going to have to continue to share all of our information with each other. That's the only thing that we can do. You know, the censorship, and I'll just call it what it is, the censorship on YouTube and Facebook, and I don't use Twitter too much. It's absolutely terrible. But there's nothing that we can do about it. You know, fighting YouTube or Facebook is just like fighting the government. They're very powerful entities, and they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to listen to anybody. They're going to do what they want, or they're going to do what they've been told by, by the elite governments, deep state, cheap state, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of things happening in our solar system. There's a lot of things happening here on our planet. A lot of things that we have to keep up to speed on. Some of us, our own survival will depend on that. When it comes to earthquakes, volcanoes, and we're getting ready to start heading into very, very bad periods of weather. There is already a weather system brewing in the Caribbean. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to turn into a hurricane, but if it makes landfall in South Florida, it can possibly do some damage, some localized flooding. Just a taste of what's to come. Dr. Albers and I are still working on the chemtrail book. There's a lot of information to pour over, folks. You know, we're not the only ones that have investigated this. People have been investigating chemtrails 15, 20, 25 years now. More and more information is coming out. For all of you that are disbelievers, listen, you're just fooling yourself. If you actually think that those are contrails in the sky, creating the little grid patterns and the little pentagram stars, really, I mean, if you can, you really need to kick yourself in the ass, because you're fooling yourself. There are reasons why they're doing it. None of us have 100% the answer, but we try. We try very hard. Bringing more and more awareness to what is happening is the key, because so many people are, as we say, asleep. We're running out of options, folks. They're taking away YouTube. They're taking away Facebook. They're taking away Twitter. Somehow they will probably start messing around with websites. I'm sure they're already doing it. We're not going to have any form of communication. You are not going to have any way of teaching others about what is happening. So, this is one of the reasons why we're writing books. If you think we're making, tons of money writing these books, you're sadly mistaken. Dr. Albers, do you have the copy of the last book in your office there?
Yes, I do actually.
And hold that one up.
Okay, there's this one here.
You know, folks, we put a lot of hours in, sometimes 10, 12, 14 hours a day, you know, keeping up with everything that we are trying to do. It's not an easy task. I'm sure all of you know that. Yes, there are bills to pay, and, you know, it is what it is. Very, very small profits that come from these books. You're talking about $2 or $3, you know, if that. YouTube has absolutely destroyed monetization for creators across the board. There's nobody on YouTube that is making any type of advertising money. They're basically taking it all. There may be a few people out there, you know, like movie stars and, you know, musicians, people like that. But those days of, you know, YouTube supporting your cause, because it doesn't cost you viewers anything, you know, with the ad monetization, that's all paid for by companies. And the trolling operations, they used to love to use that against you. Oh, you're making money. Oh, you're making money. Well, yeah, guess what? I'm not like you, scumbag, where you live in government housing and the government pays your way. I pay my own way, and everything I have, I bought. Anyhow, anyway, Dr. Albers, you want to show everybody the other book?
This one.
Yes, the one that you have possession of.
Yes, here it is. So
put it in the camera. Put it right in front of your face. In front of your fat girl.
So, yeah, this is the one where through observing the stellar course, I came up with how gravity works, how everything in the universe is made out of light. And it's all contained, well, at least the first part. I have another one coming out with the rest. Oh, Italia. Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I wasn't sharing the screen for you. You're going to have to put the book back up.
Okay.
There you go.
There you
Bring it down. That's it. Planet X revealed gravity and light.
That's right. And so there will be another one coming out with more articles that I wrote after the ones that are in this book. And but this is, I think, very important, the fact that the universe is all made out of light.
Dr. Albers, let me ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
Before you get into the scientific back end of this, have you made like about $1 million on these books or what?
No, very little. I think got about $300 or something like that.
And that's like 4 books.
Yeah, on this one, yeah. I think it was on this one.
Okay.
It's not very much. I think if we were to sell more books, we'd probably get a little bit more money. But
yeah,
so
and, you know, and look, folks, this isn't about money. You know what I mean? It's not about money. It's one of the only ways that we could actually figure out a way with a company like Amazon that wouldn't censor us, because Amazon sells books all over the world. You know, countries that maybe some of you never even heard of before. People are buying the books. You have an opportunity to literally sit somebody down and show them. Now, we were able to get the cost down on this book to only $20. And you can see it's much bigger than it's 8.5 by 11. And again, all full-scale diagrams, photographs, and the evidence is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, folks, we're going to keep on doing this. We're going to keep on putting books out, maybe one every 2 or 3 months. You know, it all depends. It's a lot of work. But what's happening right now with our planet and what's happening out there in our solar system. Everything's tying in together, folks. We've been talking about it for, 2 years now. And excuse me, it's been a few months since I've actually had any type of discovery. I don't know why every time we go on a live stream, my freaking nose itches. It must be because people are talking about me.
I think so, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. But this discovery that I caught on the Secchi, it's pretty interesting. If you folks haven't seen it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. Pull it all back here. And let's see here. All of you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And it states here in the opening caption, I captured this latest object viewing the Secchi spacecraft footage from April 25th through May 3rd, 2018. I showed a little bit of this on the live stream with Wayne Steiger and Dr. Albers the other day. However, I was waiting for more footage to be released, and they're always backlogged several days. And I actually needed some more footage. So I just waited a few days and they uploaded a little bit more. Things became just a little bit more clear. And I'm going to show you what I captured. Now, you guys, like I said, folks, it's going to be hard for you to see this on a cell phone. So if you have a laptop, if you're able to cast YouTube to your big flat screen TV, go do it now, man, so you can see this, because you're going to need it. You're going to need to see it clearly. It says, and I just put a brief description of what Secchi is. Secchi is a suite of remote sensing instruments consisting of 2 white light coronagraphs, Core 1, Core 2, and an extreme ultraviolet light imager, EUVI, collectively referred to as the Sun-Centered Imaging Package, SCIP, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, anyway, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and let this start playing so you guys can see this. Now that we have a little bit more time on this live stream, I'll be able to point things out for you. And folks, this footage is not going to be crystal clear because Dr. Albers, you want to explain to everybody how the SREM imaging works again? It's not like you're just pointing a camera into space and taking pictures of planets.
Mm-hmm.
These are highly sophisticated cameras, and they have different uses. So go ahead, Dr. Albers.
Yeah, so the SREM images actually detect particles, and the particles impact the detector, and that tells you where the image comes from. I mean, where the particle comes from, and it's in terms of high energy particles, that is protons, electrons, and helium nuclei mainly. Those are the heavy ions, but there will be other heavy ions. So they color coded, and I think protons are white, electrons are black, and heavy ions are most likely one of the other colors. I can't remember right now because they don't actually give us the key. I think I worked that out, I think in 2016, I worked out. But it's just particles. It's not light. It's not radiation. So there are no lens effects. There are no refractive effects. There's no such thing as a lens flare in SREM images.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, real quick, folks, again, if you're looking at this on a cell phone, it's going to be very, very hard for you to see. And I want you to understand something. Some people were leaving comments, oh, that's probably Saturn. Oh, that's probably Jupiter. No, folks, it's not Saturn. It's not Jupiter, because they label on the HI-1A camera, they label the planets. Watch my cursor. I don't know if you could see. I don't think you could see my cursor.
I can see it.
Oh, you can? Oh, okay. You have Saturn. Saturn is here. Mercury is here. Mars is here.
Yes.
Here is our object right there. Right where my cursor is, right where the arrow is pointing to.
Yes.
So here's the deal, folks. You know, once again, we're dealing with massive distances, depth perception. Okay. So if you're looking at that object on a flat screen and you see the little tiny planet of Mars right here, I don't want you to think that Mars is right up against this planet or planet X or whatever the hell this object is. Okay. It is probably tens of millions of miles away, if not, 50, 60, 100 million miles away. We don't know. Yeah, but all I know is that this damn object, I've been tracking it now for 10 days. It does not belong in our solar system, but it is there. It is so far away from Mars that it seems to be stationary. So you have to remember that everything in our solar system is in motion. So during the video clip, you will see Mars moving in this direction. And all of this, I believe this is probably the Milky Way in the background that you're seeing, but also you're also seeing a lot of dust and other particles throughout the image. And we are able to see that on the Secchi HI1 and the H2 also. So we're able to see this. Now, I have still photographs. We'll bring them up. I'll zoom into them and I will show you. These other little teeny tiny little white dots that you see all over the place, basically surrounding your whole entire screen, are other stars, other objects that are out there in the distance. And you will see these objects passing directly in front of this sphere. And folks, listen, you have to understand that you're not going to see a round sphere for 10 days in this type of video footage. It's just not going to appear by mistake. What I'm telling you is it is a solid object. It is real. It is out there. Dr. Albers, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, Scott, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the perspective. First of all, Mars, if we see it in these images, are on the other side of the sun, because Mars, the stereo spacecraft is on Earth's orbit. Mars is outside of Earth's orbit. So when we're seeing it here, we're seeing Mars on the other side of the sun. So it's very far away. The same thing happens with Saturn. It's on the other side. So it's extremely far away from the spacecraft. Now, the fact that we are seeing this object, if this object is behind Mars, that makes it extremely, extremely large. So I actually think these objects, these stellar cores, are actually quite close to the sun. And don't forget, the stellar cores are able to just hover and move very slowly past the sun. So this object, I think, is quite close to the sun. So it's in between, somewhere between the stereo spacecraft and Mars. Because if it was actually behind Mars, it would be huge. It would be 4, 5, 10 times larger than the sun.
Oh, yeah, we would definitely see it because Mars has been in our sky. We've seen Jupiter with the passing of the full moon. Jupiter is visible in the sky. And, you know, folks, someone's just going to mention this right now. And I mentioned this back in January, February, and March. You know, we're going to have a very, very critical planetary alignment coming up in July. That planetary alignment with Jupiter and the Earth and the Sun, you know, that's going to last for a couple of months. But there's going to be some critical points in time. I would probably say maybe mid-July till the end of August, where, you know, things on this planet are going to get really, really shaky with seismic activity, possibly more volcanic activity. And excuse me, there's no doubt in my mind that during this point in time, we're going to be in the peak of hurricane season in the Atlantic. And this may just cause a more intense effect on our atmosphere, on the weather, and the hurricane season. And I actually, what I'm looking at, what I've been trying to study every single day are these weather patterns and the very erratic jet stream patterns. And, you know, hurricane season doesn't end till November 1st. I lived in South Florida for 22 years. I'm pretty keen on hurricanes, studied them for years. Last year was intense. I think this year is going to be even more intense, more damage, more flooding, once again, more loss of life. And I think the hurricane season is going to be extended, meaning it is going to go full blast all the way to November 1st. We may even see records being broken as far as these hurricanes. We may even see the hurricanes move past the deadline of hurricane season, November 1st. But we will see. We will definitely see. Go ahead, Dr. Albers. You wanted to finish up there?
Oh, yes. Okay. And then I wanted to mention the fact that this object cannot be outside of Mars orbit. It has to be between Earth's orbit and Mars orbit on the other side of the sun, and most likely close to where the sun is, because we know these stellar cores are attracted to the sun. And then you have to realize that there is all this material that's in front of this object. So all this material, which they tell you is stars in the background, is mostly not stars. It's actually, well, some of them could be stars, but most of them are actually due to the debris that has been left in the inner solar system. Because these objects we've seen, you know, you photographed the blue stellar core, and you're the one who first pointed out that there was all this material coming off the blue stellar core. And this happens with all of them. They come to the sun's corona, they start shedding their outer layers of material. So you can imagine, with hundreds of these objects doing the same thing for now over 100 years, that the inner solar system would fill up with all this debris.
Oh, absolutely. There is tons and tons of it, folks. I mean, a lot of you that you know, get to see some footage from the SOHO, the coronagraphs, and also stereo. You know, from time to time, you folks post photographs of what you see. You know, these large white objects in these scattered patterns streaking across the stereo core 2 coronagraph, hitting the you know, the detectors on the spacecraft. Well, you know, look, folks, some of that is normal, but you know, we've been seeing so much of it over the course of, you know, the last 2 years. It really starts to make you wonder what in the hell is happening out there. Now, a good portion of what you're seeing in the background of this footage is the Milky Way. Okay, this appears from time to time as Earth rotates and these spacecraft rotate. So, but you're really seeing a combination of the background of the Milky Way and a lot of debris and dust and gases. Now, you notice that in the footage right here, Venus comes into the picture. You have Saturn over here. You have Mars over here. And Earth, I believe, Earth is out of the picture in this footage. But you can see the object. It's right here. It has moved. It has maintained its round shape throughout the last 10 days. I mean, do you actually think that gas and dust are going to maintain a shape in space with all that violence going on? Absolutely not. Now, we know that these objects, as of right now, are not giving off their own light. So they're only going to be really seen in infrared. We don't have access to infrared massive telescopes, at observatories. We're not NASA, but we know that they are tracking it. They probably didn't think that we would see that, but I examine all of this footage in detail. I do change the contrast if I happen to notice something. I want to be able to see it more clearly. That's one of the techniques that we use. No big deal. So this object is definitely there. There's no doubt in my mind. It's not giving off, a tremendous amount of light. But if you take a look at Venus, I mean, Venus is glowing because it is so close to the sun. You have Saturn out there, and the sun reaches Saturn. The sun reaches Mars. But this object is not going to give off light at all. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on playing this. And Dr. Albers, if you want to narrate a little bit on what you're observing.
Yeah, well, we seeing these planets. We also know that they manipulate these images. Sometimes things that might be visible or placed in the background, darkened. They do a lot of things to these images. The fact that we can catch these outlines is wonderful. But I actually think this object may, because after a while they absorb enough energy, they may start giving off some light. It may start, all the gas that surrounds them eventually gets ionized and starts giving off gas. And that's often we actually find that these spots are bright because of that. They are giving off some light. And these are not just, like I said, these are mainly not stars. These are actually the debris that has come from the stellar cores. We actually often see them coming as the sun has CMEs. We see all these specks coming off the sun. This is all debris that's come from the stellar cores. And it just floats around because it's low in gravitational energy. Yeah, here we're looking at Mars again. But, they manipulate the images. They will highlight what they want us to see, and they will minimize whatever they don't want us to see. And they play around with the focus, with the definition of the image, so we don't see. But Scott has good eyes and usually catches those round shapes, which indicate that there's a spherical and solid object there, and you can actually track it as it moves across the image. So this one's moving away from the sun.
Yeah, and Mars is moving to the left, and it's very hard to judge, how this object is actually moving because of the distance. And again, folks, we don't have the sophisticated access to these telescopes, and spacecraft like NASA does. I mean, listen, come on. We know that they're tracking this damn thing. We know that they've been tracking it for years. We know that they've sent out multiple probes. And just this past beginning of the year, how many rocket launches, man? Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They just blasted off another one yesterday. Okay, they tell us one thing. Oh, well, we have a satellite, that's going to tell us this and that and blah, blah, blah. And this is a GPS in the head of this rocket and blah, 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 blah. Listen, folks, we don't know what the hell they're putting in the noses of those rockets. We only go by what they tell us. That's it. Remember, another saying that I have, the deception is real. The whole Elon Musk, I'm going to blast my fancy space car out there to Mars. Come on, folks. That's bullshit.
Oh my goodness, Scott, I just saw something very interesting there. You know, we saw Venus, and it seemed to have that plasma loop thing that I've been talking about now for a while. You can see an object right there close to Venus, right there on the left-hand side of Venus. Do you see that?
Yeah, there is some kind of anomaly there. It was so obscured, I really couldn't see it.
Well, I definitely saw it now. I hadn't noticed that before. That may be actually the object that had the plasma loop. But either way, you know, Venus could not have a plasma loop because you need a high magnetic field in order to produce a loop. And Venus doesn't have its own, doesn't generate its own magnetic field. So that cannot come from Venus.
Yeah, and where Dr. Albers is referring to this loop right here. And you know, it's kind of strange because whenever we saw this last year, we saw the loop expanding outward. Now, during this piece of footage, it seems that it's getting sucked back in, but there is definitely a reaction with Venus and this object. And you can see the reaction. Here's Venus right up here. I'll hit play. It will go across your screen.
Yeah, so that plasma loop requires two things. It requires highly ionized plasma, and it requires a magnetic field, none of which Venus has. So I would think that this is due to some object that Venus has captured, one of the stellar cores, which is very likely because they are all over the solar system. And we know Jupiter has captured quite a few since it's gone from 16 satellites to 69. It's very likely that all the planets in the solar system captured some of these stellar cores. And the fact that we're seeing this reaction from Venus for quite a few years now, I think suggests that it has captured one of these objects, and it's been there for quite a while. It's absorbed a lot of energy, and it's now able to have these star-like effects, which requires a high magnetic field and ionized plasma, which you would expect a star to be able to have. These are dead stars when they come into the solar system, but they seem to absorb energy from the sun, and then they are able to work much like stars again.
You know, I saw a few people say in the live chat, you know, so when is this coming our way? You know, I constantly see the stupid articles by the UK Express and some other YouTube channels. Every single week they're coming out with these stupid, ridiculous dates about, you know, Nibiru crashing into the Earth. Look, folks, as far as what I see and what I research and investigate, these objects are nowhere near the Earth to the point where they're going to crash into the Earth. You have to understand something. These large objects, they produce massive, massive magnetic fields, just like the sun. These magnetic fields interact with Earth. The magnetic field of the sun reacts with the Earth from 93 million miles away. We don't have compositions of what this object is actually made of. We don't even know that much about its dynamics, only from what we observe, what we capture, what we uncover. I'm going to go ahead and play that again.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is a big task trying to, you know, weed through a lot of things. You can tell that things are tragically happening to our planet just by watching, the news or keeping track of what we're finding out, the earthquake situation. Now we have very serious volcanic situations. We have such crazy weather around the whole entire world. When in your lifetime have you seen this? You haven't. Regardless of how old you are, you have never experienced what is happening now. And folks, there's a lot of information being withheld that we don't even have access to, that we haven't even found yet. So yes, we have to keep on moving forward, each and every one of us. If you've been watching my channel for at least the last 3, 4, 5, or 6 months, you should know where to go and how to access this information. A lot of you don't have the time that I have to investigate this. I've been doing it for years, and I will continue to do it. I'm not going to sit here and be a fear monger and tell everybody that life on Earth is going to end. But listen, folks, these elite scumbags, NASA, I mean, they are photographing everything that they do. If you can read between the lines, why all of a sudden this huge push to get to Mars and, habitate Mars? I mean, supposedly we were on the moon, but yet we haven't been back there. Why? Now, all of a sudden, they are sending another probe yesterday to Mars. And then they were saying, okay, we know now that human beings can withstand the ride to Mars. But can you withstand the landing? And then whenever you land, what the hell do you do? Are you ever going to get back home? Are we going to colonize Mars? What is the big rush? What do they know that we don't know? You can clearly see our planet is in jeopardy. I watched a video by Rex Bear over at the Leak Project yesterday. He was somewhere in the mountains of Colorado, and he was like actually up in there. And he was talking about how everything, plant life and trees, everything was dead. Dead. Ultraviolet light destroying plant life. Dr. Albers and I talked about this last week whenever I told you we went down to my bug out facility, and it's in a heavily wooded area, and all of the trees, these trees are 60, 70, 80, 100 feet high. But half of the tree from the ground up is regular bark. It's living. Then the rest of the tree halfway to the top is freaking white. It's white.
Mm-hmm.
All of the trees for miles, man. 6 months ago, it didn't look like that, did it, Dr. Albers, when I took you down there?
No.
Late in the summer last year, whenever you got here.
Yes, I remember. No, everything was green and alive then.
Dr. Albers, I know you're not a botanist and a forest ranger,
Mm-hmm.
but we've been seeing like Mr. MBB333 does a UV video every day. Last year, he was documenting all of these street signs turning bleach white. Well, now it's happening here in my neck of the woods.
That's right.
So, Dr. Albers, what would turn those trees white?
Well, it's the ultraviolet light. I've written a lot about this, that there's more ultraviolet light now reaching the surface than if we had no ozone layer at all. And it's more radiation than what arrives from the sun at the top of the atmosphere. And that indicates only one thing, that there are sources of ultraviolet light within the atmosphere. And that is obviously coming from the sun simulators. We have irrefutable evidence that there are sun simulators working within the atmosphere. And why are there sun simulators within the atmosphere? It's for mainly two reasons. One is that the sun is much weaker. It's getting eclipsed by these stellar cores. There, like I said, there are at least hundreds in the inner solar system. The Earth has captured some of them. And the sun actually goes dark periodically. Now, these objects are a long-term kind of effect, because as they come in, they're very weak, they're dead stars, but they absorb energy, and over time, they become more powerful. So what actually probably happens, is likely to happen, is they get captured, but they don't come right in like an asteroid. They would spiral in. They would go into an outer orbit around an object, and as they gain energy, they get more and more attracted, but slowly. So they would spiral in towards the planet that has captured them, that is host, because they absorb energy from that object. So in the case of the Earth, we'd get these stellar cores would be captured. They would be very far from the Earth, and then they would slowly spiral inwards. And as they absorb energy, they become more powerful. They may start emitting light. There will be ionization of gases due to the electrical interactions that will occur as they absorb matter from the Earth. And one of the reasons why we have these sun simulators and the chemtrails is to hide these objects when they start emitting light, and to hide the ones that are close to the sun, to especially hide the fact that the sun is weakening. The sun is actually dying. But they don't want us to know what is going on out there. So this is what it's all about, is hiding the fact that these objects are out there.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that the intensity of the actual sun, the star that we all grew up with, and seeing that nice big bright orange ball in the sky is no longer orange. It is freaking white, like a big spotlight. And yeah, Dr. Albers and I and many others that investigate and research this sun simulator, we know that it sounds really, really crazy, but folks, we've shown you the evidence. If you watch the live stream that we did with Wayne Steiger the other day, Wayne showed a piece of his video footage from the space station, busted. I mean, you can clearly see the space station definitely has something to do with one of the simulators. There's no doubt in my mind. I believe that they have some old technology up there from I don't know when. And I think that they have been putting up new technology over the course of time with some of these rocket launches. Okay, we have enough probes, we have enough satellites, we have enough GPS. Okay, everybody on this planet that has a cell phone, you could use Google Maps and you know where the hell you're at. So we don't need any more GPS satellites. So I think that's a crock of shit. I think they've been putting up more technology. And we all know that the world space agencies, NASA and the ESA and the Russians and the Chinese and the Japanese, we know that they are at least 50 to 100 years more advanced than what we actually know of. Okay, they don't tell us everything. Now it's nothing but a big propaganda trip. I mean, it truly is. Yeah, they want to make space interesting. No, they want to take your mind off of other things, and they want to make this interesting to you whenever they drop the bombshell and say, oh, hey, we got to get off this planet, and only the billionaires with all the money that paid their way are going to get on the rocket ships and head out to our new golf course and country club on fucking Mars. I'll take my chances here on Earth, folks. I love the Earth. This is where I want to live. This is where I want to die. I don't want to die in outer space. I don't want to die on some dusty, barren planet somewhere in the solar system. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Anywho.
No, I definitely wouldn't want to go to Mars. Mars is actually a dead planet. It's lost its water, its oceans, most of its atmosphere through some kind of cataclysmic event in the past. And there's radiation on it. There must have been some kind of nuclear war a long time ago on it. There's evidence of that. Why would we want to go there? I think it's part of the deception. They deceive everybody. The man in the street is told, no, there's no such thing as chemtrails. There's no such thing as sun simulators. The elite are told, oh, we'll give you a ticket to Mars. It's still deception. They're still being deceived. And that's the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, folks, we may not see this in our lifetime. I mean, I kind of hope that I don't, you know, but I do want to be able to leave some type of proof, some type of evidence for others to, you know, maybe understand, maybe have a chance to take a look back and say, wow, how did all of this happen? Why did it happen?
Yeah. And you know that even the Bible mentions the sun simulation system. I think in Revelation 8, it tells you that the sun will not shine. The sun will not shine for 1/3 of the day, and the night will not shine for 1/3 of the day, because the sun and the stars will be damaged by some kind of object from outer space. And that indicates that there's a simulation system in place, because how can the night not shine for 1/3 of the day, 1/3 of the night? It shows you there's a simulation system. The stars and the planets are being simulated by this grid of satellites and simulators that just move across the surface of the Earth at about 30 or 40,000 feet altitude.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up the information on the video that I did earlier today that was showing the intensity of what was happening with the solar wind. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up real quick. Just give me 1 second. Oh, let me share my screen. And this was going from the 5th into the 6th. I posted this information because it's been quite a while since we've seen a very, very fast solar wind reaching way over 1,000,000 miles per hour. Some people will tell you that these graphs, these charts, these models are not accurate. I don't buy that bullshit, people, because if they weren't accurate, why in the hell would they take the time to put the craft up there and filter the information back and have it coded into a model? Okay, doesn't make any sense. There aren't a tremendous amount of people around the world that follow space weather. All of us do. So we do pay attention to it. I have not seen these heavy bursts of solar wind for quite some time. And all of a sudden, taking a look at some of the video information from the 5th into the 6th, you can see, if you just follow my cursor right up here where I'm circling, upper right-hand corner, you're going to see that intensity come in. Now, we had a pretty large coronal hole. We've had many coronal holes over the past 3 or 4 months. But it's kind of strange that the solar wind wasn't that intense. It was actually pretty low. Now, all of a sudden, we see this huge uptick where the solar wind intensifies and reaches well over 1.5 million miles per hour. And that will take a little bit of time for those heavily charged particles to penetrate the earth and, cause more damage with the earthquakes and now the volcanoes. So I think this situation that is brewing now, it may intensify what is happening in Hawaii. I mean, it's really hard to say. But Dr. Albers, you wanna throw some commentary in on what you're seeing here?
Yes, Scott. Usually, it's not just the fact that we have a coronal hole facing Earth. We actually have to have an object on the outside of Earth's orbit connecting to the sun, and the Earth has to be in the stream between the two for us to actually get the impact of this fast solar wind. And this is I think the reason why we've had coronal hole after coronal hole, basically the center of the sun facing Earth is now permanent coronal hole. It's almost all the time that we have a coronal hole there, and we have the permanent coronal hole at the north pole of the sun and the south pole of the sun. The sun is full of coronal holes, and I've been talking about that for a while and how it shows that the sun is weakening and getting darker. But in order for the Earth to be impacted by this fast solar wind stream, these coronal holes have to be connected magnetically to an object outside of Earth's orbit. And if there's no object there, then we don't get a fast solar wind stream coming our way. So this shows that there's an object outside of Earth's orbit at the moment, and that's what's causing this. I've written as well about the fact that they can enhance space weather conditions through the satellites. A satellite in synchronous orbit can release barium or hydrogen or cold plasma and enhance and create or enhance a geomagnetic storm. So they can manipulate this up to a certain point. But we cannot say that it's always artificial. I think at least some of the time it's actually the fact that we are in a fast solar wind stream.
Yeah, no, we've actually seen the solar wind. Oh, I got a bad echo all of a sudden. But anyways, we've seen the solar wind impact the Earth way over 1.5 million miles per hour before. There were several times last year a big intensity of solar wind. My point was, over the course of the last 4 months, we haven't seen the solar wind reach 1 million miles per hour.
We have
probably not even close. And by judging on those numbers, it was well over 1.5, 1.6, possibly even bursts, close to 1.7, 1.8 million miles per hour. You'd have to do the math in kilometers per second. But what we're looking at here is the same date and time stamps for the magnetopause. And this is the Earth's solar shield. This is what protects us from the radiation and all of those heavily charged particles. There is a lot of talk by scientists, not Dr. Albers, but other scientists that have been saying for quite some time, and a lot of them are becoming more and more vocal, and they've been saying our solar shield, our magnetopause, our magnetosphere is weakening. Now, dealing with the grand solar minimum or a solar minimum, the Earth's magnetic field would naturally decrease a little bit, somewhat. It's not a good situation, folks. And let me just throw this in there real quick for all of you sunbathers and people that love to lay out in the sun. And I used to be one of them for years. I'm going to warn you now. Do not sunbathe. Do not lay out in the sun and spread suntan lotion all over your freaking body and lay out in that disaster. I'm just warning you now. This summer is going to be one of those times that you do not want to do this. The intensity is going to get worse. I'm going to show you the radiation belt model, the same time period. Folks, this radiation is pouring into our planet every second of every day. It may be part of the reason for the chemtrailing, but I also believe that the chemtrailing is part of a visual deception. So we don't clearly get to see what is actually happening. And you know, we're going to go into that in our book, and we're going to be talking a lot more about this, whether people like it or not, because we do have the right to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are human beings. We are the species that rules this planet. So, Dr. Albers, with this footage of the magnetopause, do you want to critique this for everybody and give them your scientific
we can
thoughts?
see it's not a. We've seen much higher energy impacts on the magnetopause, and you are correct in saying that if the solar wind were to stop, no more solar wind, then a greater part of the Earth's magnetic field would not be there anymore, because what creates the outer part of the Earth's magnetic field is actually particles that come in the solar wind and will then flow along magnetic field lines and induce currents and induce the magnetic field. So the outer part of the magnetic field of the Earth is actually solar generated. So no solar wind, of course, it will decrease, but it's always aligned to the Earth's own permanent magnetic field, which comes from the Earth's core and crust, which is solid, and it points in a certain direction. So the solar particles align along these magnetic field lines and create the outer magnetic field. And then, in a way, it actually that they generate the magnetic field and then create a sort of shield against even more solar particles. At least the first impacts is shielded again, the very high energy, and then they flow around and they come in through the backside. But there is a permanent hole where some of them will always come right in, and then they go into they flow along the magnetic field lines. They mainly end up at the North and the South Pole. They create aurora. That's one of the ways we know we're being impacted by high energy particles is through the creation of aurora. And what we see here often is these high energy particles coming in from the back side. So you can see the night side. It's on the left-hand side. They usually come in from the night side because they flow around the magnetopause and then they come in through the back. And we can see this, and we can see the dashed line is the geosynchronous orbit where the satellites are, and we can see how that fills up with radiation and so on. And our atmosphere will also absorb a lot of these particles, the X-rays. The cosmic rays, it doesn't. These would come right in, but we don't see cosmic rays on here. We just see protons and electrons, basically.
Yeah, Dr. Albers, you want to explain this model to everyone so they know what they're looking at?
Yeah, well, this is just electrons, high energy electrons come in, and the high energy electrons is what creates the aurora. And they also radiation because they ionize the ionosphere. They will cause problems for the satellites because we have electrons impacting the circuits inside the satellites. They can be damaged, and this is one of the reasons why they want to look at them. So when it's red, that means that there's a high density of particles, of electrons of this energy, which is 44.7 keV. And it just shows that there's energy coming in from the sun.
Now, I want to give just a little explanation for people that really don't know what we're looking at. The inner circle that you see here, folks, that represents the Earth. The white side represents the daytime side. Naturally, the black side is represents the nighttime side. The arch that you see here represents our magnetopause, our solar shield. You will see it fluctuate. Over to the bottom right, you see the color code for intensity. Normally, we should be in the green and the lime green. You will see the intensity raise into the yellow, the orange, and the red. The polka dotted oval that you see here, that is the satellite belt. That is where the GOES satellite, the weather satellites, a lot of them are in this area of this circle, this dotted line. You can already see the intensity has passed far beyond the satellite belt. Now, we've actually seen this in worse conditions where this entire arch, all of this, what you're seeing on your screen, is red. We've also seen very tight red circles around the Earth, which it just signifies that amount of intensity. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play. So, folks, again, being out there in the sun, even your kids, this is more harmful to children and young adults under the age of, I think, about 25. This is more harmful to you than older people. So naturally, you love your kids, you love your friends. So you're going to have to warn them. That's all I have to say. Yes, summertime is coming upon us, but you're going to see a lot of people getting scorched and burned and blisters. And you're going to see people putting the pictures up on Facebook of what happened to their child, even with sunscreen on. And me, I don't believe in sunscreen. I believe sunscreen's garbage. Why would you want to put something like that on your skin? The best thing you can do is try to wear, very thin, long sleeve shirts, a hat, protect your eyes with the proper sunglasses. If you don't have to go out for long periods of time, don't do it. I know it's hard, easier said than done, but under the circumstances, the state that we're in, it's the best information that I can give you. You're going to have to heed my warnings and just do what you have to do. That's it. Things are not going to get any better, folks. I've been saying this for the last 2 years. Progressively, things are going to get worse. In 2017, it was a pretty rough year all the way around. We saw tragedies worldwide. We still continue to see them each and every day. So it's very hard for somebody out there to say, oh, I debunked Planet X News. Oh, I debunked Dr. Albers. Listen, here's the bottom line. You haven't debunked shit. All you're doing is lying to yourself. And if you're telling other people your lies, then you're taking their life in your own hands. We should be informing people about what is happening. Take the precautions. We need to do that. It's just the bottom line. Things are not going to get any better. They are going to get worse. Some of us will not live to see a lot of what is coming. Some of us will. Your children will probably have it worse than what we will as grown adults in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. I worry about that. I just recently saw a news article on several news stations that public schools in the United States are removing clocks from the classroom and installing digital clocks because the kids don't know how to tell time. Technology is such that, you don't need a wristwatch that has, the little numbers on it and the two arms. You just look at your cell phone. I worry about the younger generation. They're not even hardly teaching earth space science in school anymore. What the hell are they teaching these kids, man?
They're teaching them not to think, so that they don't realize what's going on to the planet. They want them to believe all the deception. So, of course, the training has been for years now. Train children not to think. Train them to just accept whatever someone else tells you. Oh, that could be true. But they don't accept the fact that there's only one truth. Two people talking to each other, and one says, oh, that's the sun, and the other one says, but that's the sun. They can't both be right. They can't be two suns in the sky.
Yeah.
But they basically teaching children to say, oh, it's possible. There could be two suns in the sky. But it's just two suns. That's it. Everything's fine. Everything's possible. Everything's correct. They're not teaching them to think accurately and to make proper deductions, because so that people don't know what's going on. Now, we often have cloud cover, and we are told that, oh, it's global warming, it's a problem. That's why we are using these chemtrails. If people realize that we have chemtrails in the sky, then the next thing we're going to tell them is that it's for their own good. But wait a minute, it's because of global warming? But don't you know that when there are clouds in the sky at night, that's when the night is warm? If there are no clouds, if we have a clear sky at night, what happens? You have a cold night, because all that hot air leaves the atmosphere, and then the atmosphere becomes cold. So the fact that they're increasing cloud cover means they are trying to keep heat inside the atmosphere. So it means they're not fighting global warming. They're fighting the opposite. They're fighting the fact that the sun's getting weaker, and they want to keep the atmosphere warm. And the same thing happens with the particles that they use. They're using particles with high reflectivity. They reflect the light. So they keep the light, the infrared light that the Earth emits, inside the atmosphere.
Hey, folks, I thought I'd share a few things with all of you that have been posted on our Planet X News Facebook page. I just wanted to have a little fun with the scumbag trolls there for a minute. I'm going to be producing these stickers, and I'm going to put one on my car. But anyhow.
Yes. You know that we only have trolls because we are speaking the truth. If we were not speaking the truth, there would be no trolls.
Oh, absolutely. If you
They're only there to fight against the truth.
Yeah,
so if you didn't, there are trolls, and the more they are, the more you know that we are telling people the truth.
Yeah, if you didn't see those little cockroaches in the corners of your YouTube channel, then yeah, you know it's all garbage. There's a lot of footage coming in from the Kilauea situation.
Yes.
If all of you can see my screen, I do believe you can see it. This was one of the latest videos of the lava just destroying a road. And I'll go ahead and play it here.
Yeah, and this shows that there's something happening to the Pacific plate, and there's some kind of movement going on. The lava is on the move. If it moves towards the American plate, then we can expect some activity there as well. But certainly all the lava channels inside the Earth are connected. So if we have lava on the move and these eruptions, it means something's going on, and we could have repercussions right here in the United States on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's doing some damage out there, folks. There's no doubt about it. They're definitely in an emergency situation. I've been paying attention closely to the USGS reports, and they're looking for long-term with this this volcano. I'm going to go ahead and peruse down here just a little bit. And hey, listen, folks, if any of you are not subscribed to Dr. Albers' YouTube channel, definitely get over there, subscribe to her channel. You might learn something. You never know. But her articles are always posted on Planet X News, and you can access that at any time. I just designed a new pro gun shirt today, which is pretty good. Yeah. This one's more related to like your daughters. It says, mess with me and I will fight back. Mess with my daughter and they'll never find your body. That's the backside. Front side is pro gun. 2A means Second Amendment, baby. That's why I'm wearing my NRA hat. But anyhow, anywho, and anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pan down here a little bit. Oh, there's the new troll sticker.
Yeah.
And here's a recent photograph coming out of Fox News. I mean, look at the thickness. I'm going to go see if we can expand this a little bit. Can I expand that? Yeah.
We should develop a troll gauge. We count the number of troll comments, and the more they are, the more our truth gauge would go up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, the island of Hawaii is definitely under siege. No doubt about it.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of lava. Look at that, covering that road. That's terrible. That must be horrible for those.
Yeah, it's very, very, very thick. Very thick, very high. Here's more video of it ripping through some forest area.
So this is going to be a quick update, folks.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of lava there.
Right now, it is going.
And this is all coming out of the ground. It's just amazing. Sure. And this is Hawaii, which is supposed to be paradise. It's terrible. My goodness, look at that. It's just boiling out of the ground. My goodness. Well, it is an active volcano there, but it means that there's something going on underground for it to erupt like this.
Well, the thing about it is this is not coming out of the volcano. I mean, this is coming out of the roads. This is coming out of the ground. Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll go through and I'll show you some of the other pictures. I mean, it just literally took down power lines because it caught the wooden telephone poles on fire, destroyed those, the power lines fall. So now, they have tons of people without power. I mean, just look at that. Thousands of degrees, molten lava shooting up in the air. I mean, could you imagine standing close by in the general proximity in the amount of heat? Now, something else that's occurring, folks, which is very, very harmful. And that is the release of all of that sulfur dioxide. It's very, very poisonous, very poisonous. As the winds shift like they did yesterday, it was pushing all of this sulfur dioxide into the interior of the island and not out to the ocean. Then it shifted again and it started pushing these smoke plumes out into the Pacific. Hopefully they'll rise and they'll dissipate. But this sulfur dioxide, Dr. Albers, do you know much about sulfur dioxide?
Well, I know it's poisonous, that if we breathe it in, it could kill us. I definitely, and it smells terrible. It smells like rotten eggs.
Yeah, so you can imagine that place probably stinks to high hell.
Yeah. So now that this is a very bad situation, but of course Hawaii are volcanic islands. So basically you will have lots of magma underneath, and maybe there were some kind of fissures forming underground that allowed the magma to flow through different regions now, different channels. the magma just pushes upwards if it finds an opening, which are these fissures underground. And when the earth starts shaking because there's pressure on the plate, then it will fissure some more, it will fracture, and then the magma will flow into these new areas and sometimes find its way upwards towards the surface.
Oh, it's definitely finding its way upwards. It's popping out all over the place. I mean,
yes.
It's getting pretty bad. I saw some video, and there were multiple cracks in the middle of the road, and literally lava spurting up. It first started as streams of gas, which looked like smoke, but it's actually gases coming up out of these cracks across the road. And then hours later, those cracks disappeared because they were gaping gorges, and the lava was literally flowing up through the middle of the road. It split all the way across, and now it's completely full of lava, and it was flowing directly into a wooded area, and bingo, the fires start. Just on May 5th, going into May 6th, one Alaskan volcanoes in the Aleutian Islands off the coast of Alaska, they were raised. Excuse me. Their threat level. Sorry, I just choked on my coffee again. Damn it. Anyways, they were their threat level was raised to orange, and that orange level, that's about as bad as you can get. They did have an explosion. This was a CNN news report, and there's some information coming in from the USGS talking about this. Let's see what this link is right here. Let me see what this link is.
Yeah, that means there's magma flow towards not United States, the North America.
Yeah.
That's what it means, because it starts with Hawaii and then we move on to the Aleutian Islands. That shows magma movement in that direction. And I don't think that's a good thing, because we have a supervolcano not too far, and that's Yellowstone.
Yeah, I mean, anything
And
can
if
happen.
that goes, then that's a horrible, horrible thing for the whole planet.
Yeah, most definitely. This was the link for the report for the Alaskan volcano. You could already see it is still at the orange level. They have the alert level as watch. So yeah, watch it blow. There's some other links here. Let's just let's check them out here for a second. This is their Facebook. Oh, how pretty. All of the lavender right below a deadly volcano. Don't look like they have too much. Yep, some geeky geologist.
I did see a rainbow there that does not look like it's normal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, all the information is out there. I actually have been seeing, CNN and Fox and NBC, our local news stations, as well as the BBC and the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. For the first time, yeah, they're all actually talking about this massive threat in Hawaii. So they're actually talking about something else other than Donald Trump and the Russian collusion. All of them scumbags, all of those politicians that are trying to, impeach Trump, they all need to be thrown in jail. They're all criminals. I just come to find out yesterday, listening to some news reports, that this Robert Mueller is directly related. His grandfather or great-grandfather was like in charge of the Nazi SS. I mean, are you serious? And this guy is in American politics? Ha! The hell is going on? Here's an article right here from Fox News. We're going to go ahead and check this out, because this was talking about the noxious gas. Volcanic gas poses health risk in Hawaii. And let's go ahead and check it out, see what this doctor has to say.
Evacuation is still in effect, but at the police checkpoints, they will let people back in for a short period of time to get a few more things because, you know, they could.
Come on, volume, go up.
If this continues, a lava field like this one could very well come through their neighborhood and make their home at least inaccessible, if not uninhabitable.
Can you guys hear that pretty good?
I talked to a fireman earlier today, and he said something really interesting.
Yeah, I can hear.
Listen, because of the sulfur dioxide gas, I can't let you back in there for a period of time because if there's an earthquake or this lava flow knocks over a tree, and of course the tree blocks your passage on the way out, then you got to bring in first responders who can't go there because of this gas is so deadly, so poisonous. Then they have to bring an air evac unit potentially in. And he says it's just not worth the risk to you or the first responders to let people in on any kind of a permanent basis, even if it may appear that the threat in their neighborhood is better. But we're talking about roughly 700 homes that have been evacuated. Thank you.
I mean, talk about some wild card situations here. What's the impact of that 6.9 earthquake from yesterday, William?
You know, that's, I mean, I would say it's hilarious. It's huge in the sense that we're all talking about the fissures in the earth, the cracks in the earth with all this ash and the rocks and the steam coming out of there and the gas, of course. But you have a 6.9 earthquake. Northridge was, what, 6.7? And it caused billions of dollars of damage. And yet, from what we understand, there's been no fatalities. This is generally a pretty rural area. There's some damage to the post office, but by and large, everything here is 1 or 2 stories. And for the most part, they're checking the roads and the bridges. That could be a factor because, of course, there's so many rivers and falls that come through here. But as of now, for a 6.9 earthquake, and they had hundreds of earthquakes before that of 2.5, and they had a 5.4 yesterday as well. It's been remarkable, but you know that the earthquakes here are a little different than we have in California. We have a thrust fault, there's slip fault, it goes bam. Well, this, you have this molten river of lava underneath where all these communities are or adjacent to them. It's kind of different. They've come to learn to live with these small earthquakes on a daily basis, but not the kind of eruptions that we've seen in the last 2 days. Back to you.
Well, we'll take those bright spots where we can get them, William. Thank you so much.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Good report by Fox News. I love Fox News. I don't know about any of you folks. There is plenty of information on the Planet X News Facebook page concerning the volcano. I've been trying to keep the information updated as much as possible. Now, I'm going to show you a video, and this was coming straight out of Hawaii. These are a couple of ladies in their apartment, and this was posted on Planet X News. It was on Twitter. This was during the 6.9 earthquake. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this information, and hold on one second. Let me get it up full screen here. There's a little bit of swearing in this, folks, but, you know, you're all grown adults. It's not like you haven't heard it before, and probably none of you have been in a magnitude 6.9 earthquake in an apartment in Hawaii as a massive volcano is exploding. So, you know, a few F-bombs, you'll live with it, but check this out.
Hey, you guys okay?
Oh my.
Holy fuck. You guys all right? Andy! Son of a... And it's fucking...
Go back here a little bit and let's check this out again.
Hey, you guys okay?
Yeah.
Wow, that was quite long lasting, that shaking too.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah. And it seemed like you know, that would probably be like a massive pressure release, just like as the reporter was describing the differences in earthquakes that occur out in California and the 6.9. The 6.9 really didn't do any damage whatsoever, no loss of life, but it shook the living hell out of the island, especially that corner of the island where it occurred. Folks, real quick, you know, while I'm panning down through our Facebook page, a lot of you ask, well, you know, what can I do to spread this awareness about chemtrails? Look, folks, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face. One thing that I've noticed over the years, you know, I spent 22 years in advertising. People notice things. People notice ads. They notice shirts. They notice hats. My NRA hat that I just newly got, you know, in the mail for my renewal of my membership, I've had numerous people just stop me in Walmart, at the gas station, you know, and start talking to me about firearms. And it kind of threw me for a second because I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And I'm like, oh, my hat. So, you know, I developed the Chemtrail Kills or Chemtrails Kill t-shirts for both men and women. They're 22 bucks. Great material. They come in all sizes and multiple colors. I have mine. Dr. Albers has hers. I've worn mine out. And people will actually say something to me about my shirt, about my hat. You know, I wish I could give them away for free, but I'm not super wealthy. I can't do that. But 22 bucks. They're on the Planet X News t-shirt online store. This is the one for ladies. I'll click on it real quick so you can check it out. This is the front side and the back side. Chemtrails. Look at the sky. So no matter if somebody is facing you or they're behind you in line, you have already delivered that message to so many people that you're passing by. So if you want to know what you can do, this is one of the ways to start doing it. Get the damn shirts. Put it on. Wear it out on the weekend. Go to Walmart with it. Wherever, man. I mean, we have to do something. This is the only thing that I could think. Let me jump out of here real quick and I'll show you the men's. This is the men's. Same thing, Chemtrails Kill. Same logo on the back. And if you go right below here, shows you in all the multiple colors that you can, you know, you can order the shirt. All sizes, men's and ladies cut, it's all there. And there's a multitude of shirts on the Planet X News online store. Just go over here real quick. Oops. The shirts are right there. There's even tank tops if somebody wants them. Planet X News, hoodies, cups, all this stuff. You know, there's a whole bunch of it. The shirts are great. One of my buddies has quake breakers. My buddy Steve out in Michigan does a lot of earthquake research. And I made some shirts for him specifically. And pretty cool shirt. I do all the designing. But folks, you know, we have to do something. And, you know, look, I'm not trying to make $1 million here. I'm just trying to spread awareness. I'm trying to find avenues that we can use to at least create the conversation between two people. And if you wake one person up, that's beautiful, man. That's a great thing. Here's more video of the lava flows. This is an aerial drone shot. And you could see this is a roadway And this lava has just literally spewed right up from the ground. Absolutely amazing. This was a horrible landslide. I believe this was in China, southwest China. And this whole entire mountainside just started coming down. That's a roadway there. That's a truck.
Wow.
It was almost buried. The full video is there. More information on the volcano and the earthquakes and the movement of this eastern rift. If you're going to follow the information, folks, you'll start learning a lot of terminology that they're using. This video was shared with me on the Planet X News Facebook page. A crazy iridescent cloud formation. And again, folks, I'm not buying it that these are normal. I'm not buying they're ice crystals. Dr. Albers defines a lot of this in the Sun Simulator book and also in the new chemtrail book that is coming up. But you can go ahead and you can watch that video and share all of the information, man. There is a damn share button right there. Share it, copy it. I don't care what you guys do. But we have to continue to share the information while we have access to social media. I mean, they're already censoring things horribly. I see that. I was mentioning the storm system that was brewing in the southern Atlantic, not too far off the coast of Florida. This was a couple of days ago, and this was in the Miami Herald newspaper. And my buddy Scott Binzak shared that on his MFA News. And another great organization, if you guys want to start following Scott and his organization, I definitely recommend it. There's a hashtag link right there. But again, you know, we are only in, you know, we were in the end of April, beginning of May, and this system just popped out of nowhere. And we're going to see more and more and more of this. And like normal hurricane season, the hurricanes start rolling off of, or the storm systems start rolling off of Africa. They get out into the Atlantic. The conditions warm up and bingo. What I am foreseeing is these systems starting to arise right in the Caribbean, or just east, southeast of the Caribbean, halfway across the Atlantic Ocean, meaning they're going to intensify very rapidly, they're going to form very rapidly, and they're going to move directly into the Caribbean islands, the Bahamas, and they're going to start striking South Florida. A lot of them may make their way up the East Coast, South Carolina, North Carolina. We may even see impacts again as far up as New York and Maine, in the Boston, Massachusetts area. So there is a ton of information. Once again, fish falling out of the sky in Iran, China, and India. And this is coming from strangesounds.org, another great website. All of you guys should be subscribed to their Facebook page and also their website. And Dr. Albers, how do fish fall out of the sky?
Well, obviously something has to lift ocean water out of the ocean first in order for it to then come from the sky. And as we know, fish are in water, not in the sky. So you have to actually pull the water up from the sky
So, I mean,
in order to be pulled down.
I mean, we've seen situations like this across the midsection of the United States with the tornado season, which is going to be absolutely tragic this year. We've already seen outbreaks of tornadoes through the Midwest. And yeah, folks, you know, whenever these tornadoes spawn, and if they are over lakes or rivers, they will suck up fish. I've seen news reports over the years, cattle, buses, trucks, houses, whatever they can suck up into them, they will deliver later on, and they will literally fall out of the sky. It's probably a situation right here. It's a tragic situation for the fishies. but better fish than human beings. And this was dealing with the 6.9 earthquake that rattled off in Hawaii. So, folks, like I said, there is a ton of information on Planet X News. I continually update our Facebook page, as the days progress. I mean, I am pretty much at it 14 to 16 hours a day. There is nothing, pretty much nothing, that we don't miss. But
yeah, Scott, I just wanted to mention one thing. I find it very strange that there was a 6.9 earthquake at all, because the eruptions had already started. And as you know, volcanic eruptions release pressure, and that's then supposed to decrease the chances of getting an earthquake because the eruptions had started, so pressure was being released, and yet we get a 6.9 magnitude earthquake. That means there's something really serious going on here. We having earthquake activity, which means that the ground is fracturing. It could be due to electric currents underground. But there's something very serious going on. If we have, after the volcanic eruptions had started, we then get a 6.9, which is quite a strong earthquake occurring. Something very serious is going on here.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Something is definitely brewing under the ground there in Hawaii. And I'm just hoping that it doesn't turn into an absolute tragic situation as far as, loss of life. Naturally, there's going to be a lot of damage that we know. Already a lot of damage. And that one complex, I forget what they call it, Lelia Estates or whatever it's called. All those houses in that big housing plan. They'll definitely be under the gun. But I'm going to share my screen here real quick one more time. Give me a second here. Let me click over here, click here, click here. And, folks, a lot of you ask me how to find our books, Dr. Albers' books. Just simply go into Google, as you see right up here, upper left. Just type in Dr. Claudia Albers, Amazon, and hit enter. And it comes up, Amazon.com, Dr. Claudia Albers, books. Click on the link, and right here, you have all of the books. They are available in the Kindle format. If any of you have that, Dr. Albers, what's that program they have, Kindle Unlimited or Prime?
Prime, yes, Prime.
Yeah, Prime. All of the books are there. The Sun
Prime.
Simulator, our first book, the Planet X report for 2017. This was a large volume book here. Is a little more expensive to produce. There are all of my discoveries for 2017. Everything is documented right there. Dr. Albers' latest book before that, or just after that, was The Planet X Revealed, Gravity and Light. Once again, full color photographs, 8.5 by 11. It's a great book. And the Sun Simulator book has just been released. And again, it's available in paperback and the Kindle version. I recommend getting the paperback. It's something tangible in your hands. Hey, listen, you could sit down with your kids and you could explain some of this stuff to your kids, your teenagers, your friends, your family, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. I don't care what you have. It's all right there, folks. It's all right there. So, a lot of you ask again, what can I do? What can I do? Well, this is some of what you can do. $20, $22, whatever. Look, it's not a lot of money. Buy the book like I have done. And I have given the book to friends of mine. I said, listen, man, take the time, read through this. Look at these photographs. When you're done with it, give it back to me. Don't damage it. So again, folks, you're asking, what can I do? This is what you can do. You have to have a tangible product in your hand. And we're trying to produce that to give to you so you can do just that. Get these people awake. When this chemtrail book comes out, we're probably going to catch a shitload of heat from it, but I don't give a shit. I don't care. What I do care about is informing everybody and making sure they understand that deception in the sky. It's not just the chemtrails. It's the sun simulator. It is what's happening in our solar system. And most of all, it's what's happening to the planet that we live on. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to live in outer space. I don't want to live in Mars. I want to live right here on the earth that God created for us. This is where I want to live. This is where I want to die. I'm not an astronaut, never wanted to be one.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
good.
this is, you know, the opportunities out there to share this information, help us out, and it helps you out, and it helps your friends and your family. They have something tangible to look at, and you can sit down and you can discuss it. I think it's a great idea, and it's the best I can do. What do you think, Dr. Albers?
I think it's lovely. I never planned to write any books, but you know, it's just come because I found out there was something going on our planet, and no one was divulging or studying or researching this. And basically, I had to do it. I never planned to. I remember the first time I wrote an article was on lens flares. And I believe God told me to write that article and send it out. And then afterwards, I thought, okay, I've done my job now. Thank you, Lord. You know, can I just go back to my lecturing? See, I never planned to do any of this. But the thing is, there's no one else who will tell the world the truth. So then other physicists, most of them will lie to people or keep their mouths shut because they're afraid they'll lose their jobs, their careers, and so on. It's understandable. It did happen to me. But basically, I just had to do it. I had to tell people the truth because I love the truth. I think people have the right to know the truth of what's going on. A lot of what's going on is actually created by these puppet masters that have taken over the planet at the moment. But they are doing all this in order to hide the real story. And the real story is the fact that a system of dead stars, hundreds and hundreds of them, on their way back towards the galactic core, somehow got attracted to our sun. And they've changed everything in the solar system. They fill the solar system with their effects, with their debris. They are changing things for all the planets in the solar system. They are destroying our sun, and this is the real story. And they are trying to hide this from the Earth's population. And they even will produce certain effects. They can create earthquakes. They most likely can even, because they create earthquakes, and earthquakes are created to volcanic eruptions, most likely even create artificial create them artificially. I cannot tell whether this one in Hawaii is artificially created or not, but I do know they can create them. But the thing is, these objects will eventually affect the Earth more and more. And these objects will affect the sun. It's affecting the sun. The sun is dying, and eventually the Earth will be affected as well. And I think what they can do with the electromagnetic weapons will be dwarfed by what these planets can actually do once they get going, affecting our planet.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Hawaii's definitely they're in a bad situation.
It's bad.
This is coming from the USGS, and this is a list of the earthquakes over the past several days. You could just see the area is just absolutely polluted with these earthquakes. Some of them are small, some of them are medium. Some of them are definitely worthy of talking about. And then you had the 6.9. Very, very strange occurrence with that 6.9. Like I said, folks, no damage from that 6.9. A lot of rattling. You know, normally with a 6.9 earthquake, man, you're going to have some damage. And we didn't see that. And here is the one volcano. I think it's about 11, 12, 15 miles away from Kilauea. This is Popo, whatever they call it. And it's venting pretty heavily from the top. And then over here is where you have Kilauea. And this crater has collapsed. It has all sunk down. And that is forcing all of the magma underground from one end to the other. And it's pushing eastward this way. And this is a more heavily populated area. They don't show you the neighborhoods on the USGS map. But it is happening. And it's definitely going to be in the news for quite some time. And with our current solar situation, we may see this intensity pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's a little scary. And that's a pretty big volcano. There is a massive amount of magma under there in that chamber. And if that thing really, really goes, we actually may have a situation like Mount St. Helen. So, you know, it is what it is.
And Scott, you cannot forget one thing. We're heading for that alignment that Terrell spoke about with the dark star. And that will possibly also affect what happens to the Earth. He usually finds that earthquakes increase at these times.
Yeah, Terrell does talk about it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You could already see bing, 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 a multitude of earthquakes stretching from southern Mexico through Central America. These are all fresh, bing, bing, bing. And we could see the state of affairs right there along the San Andreas Fault. A lot of activity and some activity right up here in Yellowstone.
Sorry, Scott. I was just saying that may be also why we're now getting impacted by fast solar wind, because we're having a magnetic connection between this black star and the sun, and now the Earth is entering into the stream. And this is possibly why we're now getting impacted by fast solar wind. And it may be what's now causing this increase in activity.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. This has been cooking for, the last 3 or 4 days. And I think we're going to see a lot more seismic activity over the course of the next week, probably. But you could see all through parts of the Middle East, China, moving on down into where's this at here? Oh, this is the Indonesia area. They're always pretty active there. Papua New Guinea, I feel bad for those people. They're constantly getting pummeled with earthquakes. Magnitude 5.3 right off the coast of Tokyo, Japan. And there will be plenty of more, folks. New Caledonia, recent earthquake 5.1. And then we see the mess right there in Hawaii. So, no doubt, things are getting risque out there in Hawaii. We're going to take a real quick look at the SDO, and we'll show you what we're talking about as far as this coronal hole. It's gotten much, much bigger. The atmosphere of the sun continues to dissipate as it is Earth facing. I mean, you can clearly see it. It's massive. And that solar wind is going to continue to pour out of there. It's going to continue to impact Earth. And as you can see, very little of the corona. Very, very little.
Yeah, I think that I've said this already months and months ago, that the sun is turning into one big coronal hole. Because now at whatever part of the sun we're looking at, if it's facing us, we can clearly see that there's hardly any corona there. It's almost like the surface of the sun is turning into one coronal hole. Well, we have one at the North Pole, one at the South Pole. Those are permanent. And now it looks like we have one developing at the equator, which is permanent as well. We don't see it on the part of the sun that's facing us because we are looking at it from the side. So it looks like there's more corona there. But the moment it turns to face us, we see how little corona is there because there's always a corona hole there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so we can see the sun is basically losing its corona. And something major has to happen for the sun to do something like that. And it goes along with everything that I've been writing about, that the sun is basically dying, that these stellar cores have been absorbing its energy, its plasma for many years now, and it's now weakening faster and faster. It's going dark. And I've written even about an article where you can see the sun at sunrise and the sun simulator in front, and you can see how much weaker the sun was in the sun simulator. And so it tells you why they need sun simulators, because they don't want us to know what's happening with the sun. And why do they need chemtrails that keep the heat in the atmosphere? Because the sun is dying, and the Earth would cool down dramatically if there were no extra clouds and these particles were not up there. But they're telling us a big lie, because there is no such thing as global warming, and they're saying it's because of global warming. And in the meantime, what they are using, because they could have found ways of doing this without using such toxic substances, but they've only found toxic substances in order to do this because they also want to decrease the Earth's population. And this is why they're not telling us the truth. They want most of the world's population to die.
Yeah, that's why the big gun grab. They don't want people to have the ability to defend themselves. Well, that's just not going to work. And, you know, I don't even want to get into that subject because I get pretty heated about that. But listen, folks, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we've proven to everyone that these objects do exist. I have captured them continuously over the past, over 2 years now. And, you know, this is just some of the recent captures going back into November and December. Not sure if a lot of you saw them. I don't know what YouTube allows you to see. You know, it's just ridiculous. But, I mean, for God's sakes, this was captured in the cactus coronagraph at the tail end of a coronal mass ejection. You can see the large sphere here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see multiple spheres in this photograph, and I converted it over to 4K to bring the definition out. I didn't change the color. I just made it a higher resolution. So, what do you think that is? Do you think that just popped up in a picture? Do you think it's just some type of camera anomaly? Hell no. And these were just the beginning phases of what was happening during that coronal mass ejection. And then, bingo. So
they actually provoke the coronal mass ejections. As they pull matter from the sun, eventually you get an explosion. And then the stellar core is ejected, and so is a lot of the material that it was pulling from the lower regions of the sun, the lower layers, like the chromosphere, the lower chromosphere. They're actually pulling matter from there. And then eventually there's a reaction, and they are ejected. But it's the same way that the sun produces a solar wind, and it's because positive ions are repelled by the sun's outer negative layer, which is very rich in electrons, mainly electrons. And that's all due to the gravitational interaction. That's one of the things I discovered that's how gravity actually works. There's a part in it that causes particles, negative and positively charged particles, to repel.
now this is one of the photographs that I captured This is back on March 28th of this year. And this is pretty incredible photograph because, I mean, you can see the object perfectly round.
Yes.
You can see it's a little bit striped. It might be some of the photograph. I converted these over to a much higher definition so we can see it. You will have some ignorant people that will try to say that is a coronal prominence. Coronal prominences are not completely spherical. Okay, they have a little bit of a deformed shape. They come in different styles, different shapes. A lot of them are kind of a teardrop shape or the shape of an eye. They're not completely perfectly circular like what we're seeing here. Again.
Yeah, Scott, these objects have been in the sun's corona for, I think, at least 100 years. And they've come up with all kinds of terms, like they do with the clouds on Earth. They just come up with a new term, hoping that just giving you the term will stop you from asking any more questions.
Yeah, they're insulting your intelligence is what they're doing.
Because a term does not explain what's actually happening. Why is there a hole in the corona? Because there's an object there. It's logical. Because the sun's corona has to go around an object. It's the same thing if you have a rock in a river. The river has to go around the rock.
Or over it.
Or over it.
This was another incredible photograph also, folks. If you just tune your eye in on this, you can see this is just the original color. You can see this massive object. It was actually closer to the camera that is coming from, I think, the Core 2 stereo. You can see the gases, which are in white, spewing off of this object. That's how close it is to the sun. You can see it.
Yes.
Different views in different contrasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, folks, I mean, I don't know about you, but I call that undisputable evidence right there.
We definitely have it, Scott. We have so many images. You've caught these objects so many times. It's undisputable, especially that one. Remember that one with the stripes? That was undisputable stripes on it, and the stripes were curved. And that you caught that one as well. I love using that one because no one can tell me that this is not a solid object in the sun's corona. When the stripes actually curve, so they conform to the spherical shape of the object. And the object looks like Jupiter because you can clearly see the stripes. They're so well defined in that image. And then there's the blue stellar core, and then there's the 2007 stellar core. Undeniable that it is in the sun's corona. It moves slowly across the sun. And of course, they wanted us to think it was the moon, but it cannot be the moon because you can see corona on the back of it. But it was obviously, we have amazing evidence that these objects are there. We can see them making their plasma connections with the sun. It's just unbelievable evidence that we have. And this is what they allow us to see.
Exactly. And, I try to stay on top of the whole entire situation. I spend a tremendous amount of time investigating and researching this. And some people say that, oh, you're not doing legitimate research. Well, listen, you're not with me 24 hours a day. You don't see what I do. You don't see the time and the effort that I put in and that Dr. Albers puts in. We have put our normal lives on hold. Well, probably forever from this point on. We don't have normal lives anymore. We don't just dilly-dally around. We do as much legitimate research as we possibly can with what we are given and what we find. And the photograph that you're looking at now that came from Cactus, and this was just back in March of this year. Again, folks, I mean, this is undeniable. I mean, we may possibly be looking at one of the complete systems that is orbiting our sun, a mini solar system within our solar system. Now, astrophysicists, other scientists, and astronomers will say that's impossible. But here's the thing, folks. How do they know that is impossible? Okay, you could even be a genius and put the mathematical equation up on a chalkboard 10 miles long. My point is, we've never seen this before. Human beings, scientists, have never examined this before. So how can you fucking say it is impossible? Excuse my French, but when I start talking about this, I get passionate and I get upset because these know-it-all scientists that want to keep their damn funding will say whatever it takes to keep the funding.
Yeah, because you see, they're extremely arrogant. They think that we've discovered everything there is to know about the universe. I remember Carl Sagan saying that we are like at the edge of an ocean. We're just wetting our feet. We know nothing about this universe, basically. But these scientists believe we know everything. How can we know everything when we can only basically see what happens in our solar system? And they don't want us to even look at what's happening with the sun. They want us to look out there. But there are 100 billion galaxies, and we just see basically what's inside our solar system. Okay, we have telescopes, but our telescopes look out into the past. They see things from a huge distance. There's no way we can even know what's below the surface in the sun. We only know what's on the surface of stars. We hardly know what's inside our own planet.
Yeah, we don't even know what's in all of our oceans, for God's sake.
Exactly. So how can we say we know everything about the universe and our theory tells us exactly how it works? No, that is pure arrogance. What we should be doing is using our powers of observation to really see how things work and not rely on the theories. The theories are obviously wrong because what we observe or what's happening with the sun and in our solar system contradicts just about everything that our theory tells us. So what has to happen is that we use our observation, we see what's happening. What's happening is we have objects, dead stars, in the solar system, and then we have to rework our theory. This is what I have had to do as best as I can with whatever I can observe of these objects, because as we know, they are trying to stop us from seeing what's really going on. But
True.
What needs to be reworked is the theory. And these physicists, basically, they made themselves blind because all they see is theory, which is obviously wrong. The observations tell you it's wrong.
Here's another photograph I want to share with you guys. This was a couple of months ago. And again, same thing. If a lot of you are new, we have a lot of new subscribers coming on to Planet X News. We want them to see the captures and the observations that we've made. This was part of another coronal mass ejection coming from the sun. And once again, folks, I mean, it's plain as day, right where my cursor is. I really shouldn't even have to point that one out to you.
That's amazing. Look at that.
I mean, it's right there in front of your eyes.
Yeah, we can see the darker line, almost like a stripe there at the bottom part. And we always see the little flecks of matter that comes off the sun whenever there is a CME, because these objects are shedding these. They probably look like rocks. They're all over the solar system now, these little flecks of matter, but they don't obey what we think is the gravitational interaction, because if they obeyed it, they wouldn't be floating around the sun all the time. We wouldn't get clouds of ionized gas between these objects and the detectors. And we are definitely seeing that in the HI images.
No doubt. This was back in February of 2018. This is just a contrast change. I'll zoom in for you.
Yeah, look at that. It's undeniable. There's a huge object there. It's huge.
You know, folks, you know, whenever you watch my videos or you take part in one of our live streams, okay, I don't try to deceive you in any way. I'm showing you the information that I've observed. And, you know, unlike some other channels, they'll just flash by a picture, they'll show it to you, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I convert the pictures into a higher definition so we can clearly see what we're looking at. And I zoom in. I zoom in all the way and I put it on your screen so you can see it, and you can see it clearly. I'm not trying to show you some little pinpoint dot on your screen. I'm bringing it right into your living room. No other channel investigating Planet X, Nibiru, whatever you want to call it. Nobody brings it to you like we do. I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think you do a great job, Scott, with these images. Really, it's amazing. Because they don't want us to see. They on purpose blur these images so we don't see what's there. And they want us to believe it's all part of the CME, but it's obvious. We have a circular object that remains circular as it moves away from the sun. It's obviously a spherical object there. It cannot be anything else.
Yeah, what the hell else would it be? I mean,
exactly.
Let's be realistic here, folks. You know, let's not sugarcoat shit and call it candy, okay? It's there. It's affecting the sun, and there is nothing that we can do about it. I'm going to jump out of here real quick. Oh, I got so many screens opened up.
Yeah, so they are there, Scott. We've been showing this over and over again, but of course there are always new people that, you know, have not heard. So we need to keep telling it to the world.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We have to be vocal about it. I mean, folks, that's why we're doing the things that we're doing. You know, that's why we're showing the information, we're documenting it, we're putting it in writing so you guys can see it, so the world can see it.
Yeah, the fact that they have a sun simulator is further evidence that there's something going on, because if the sun was working properly, they wouldn't need a sun simulator.
True.
And if there were no objects in the solar system, there would be nothing to hide. They're obviously hiding something. So
yeah,
they're actually giving us more evidence of their lying tactics, their deception.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Just watch the news and just watch the politics and the violence. It's outbreaking in, all of the European countries. Just absolutely horrible things, happening. I watch it every day, and it literally gives me, the chills to see the violence. It's now occurring in Puerto Rico. There's upheaval in Puerto Rico, in Venezuela, all through Europe. Here in the United States. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very sad. Very sad. And I don't think we're going to have an end to it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be quite frank with you. There will be no end to all of this. It will continue. It will get worse as time goes on. I don't know how much time we have left in this whole endeavor. I really don't. There is no timeline. I think maybe only God would really know that. So when people put dates on their videos and their articles and they say this is going to happen and that's going to happen, just throw it in the trash. Don't even share it. Don't even read it. Don't even pay attention to it. Live your life. Live every minute of your life like it's your last day. I mean, honestly, I wish I can do that myself right now. But Dr. Albers and I are on a journey. And that journey is to continue to inform each and every one of you about what is happening. We do the best that we can each and every day. Dr. Albers puts out her articles and her videos, and she does her research on it. There are many people out there that may disagree with her. That's fine. Do that. But don't stalk her. Don't threaten her. You can threaten me. You can stalk me. You can make all the videos that you want about me. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I don't force anybody to listen to my videos or read my articles or my books. They can choose not to read it or not to listen to my videos. Anybody
Exactly.
can choose that.
And another word of advice, folks, if you don't have any way of protecting yourself, maybe you're not a gun owner, maybe you have no experience with firearms, maybe it's time that you purchase some form of protection for you and your family. Maybe it's time that you go out there and maybe take a firearms class, take a tactical shooting class. Maybe it's time for you to start learning a little bit more about the outdoors. Maybe it is time for you to start, as they say, prepping. Maybe it is time for you to get a water filtration system. Maybe it is time for you to get your bug out bins or your bug out bags prepared, at least. It's better to be safe than sorry. What do you think, Dr. Albers? Better to be safe than sorry?
I think so. I think that you should exercise your rights, and you have the right to own a way of defending yourself. You should exercise that right. And obviously, the puppet masters don't want you to exercise that right, so you should do so even more. Because you should disobey, in other words, do what they don't want you to do.
I agree. Well, listen, folks, that's all that we have for you right now. There's a lot of things happening in the world, minute by minute. We see it, we hear about it, and we need to continue to share that information. We need to use the social medias the best that we can before they take it away. That's the best advice I could give all of you. I wish we had better things to talk about.
Yeah, at least we have the books. They can take away the electronic media, but not the books.
Yeah. Sad state of affairs our world is in. Pretty sad.
Yeah.
And it's also very sad for all of the younger people growing up, children that are just being born into this world. Man, they have no idea what the world will look like whenever they have the opportunity to have children and create a family. That's the sad part. Live your life. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Best advice I can give you. Dr. Albers, any last words?
Well, I'd like to say, as usual, that our only real help will come from our Creator God, and we should get to know Him. And because this world is run by His enemy, and this is why all these things are happening. There will come a time when things will be different, because He said that He would come back and there would be a new world here. And that will happen eventually. And I think things are so bad now because we are very near that time. But things will get worse before they get better. And in the meantime, there's only one protection. And I believe it is learning to about our Creator and developing a relationship with Him. He can help us.
I agree. 100%. 100%. Well, listen, folks, I'm going to go make some pasta because it is spaghetti and meatball Sunday. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of this day. But I ask that each and every one of you make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure your notifications are set up for Planet X News. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. I don't use Twitter that much, but all of our videos are shared on Twitter. Also, our website. All of the information, a lot of articles each and every day, sometimes 5 to 10 articles a day that I really can't publicize on YouTube because of their stupid policies and their other policies that they don't follow. They just don't follow them. They make up the rules. They make up their policies, but they don't follow them. So each and every one of you have to make a point to either go back to Planet X News yourself on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, whatever. You're going to have to make a point to go back there. Don't rely on the notifications. Share the information. There's a share button. Share, 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 share. Get a membership to the NRA. It's $30. Don't let your Second Amendment right be taken away from you. Your freedom of speech is going down the tubes. Your freedoms in this country are going bye-bye very quickly. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Protect your rights as a human being. This is Scott from Planet X News and Dr. Claudia Albers, our Planet X physicist. Take care, folks. Be safe.